technology and enablement of Covance.
Correct.
Yes. So you also were the founding member of Women of Color in Pharma, WOCIP.
Correct.
So what exactly does like the WOCIP do?
So what we are is a nonprofit organization focused on empowering women of color in their professional and personal development. Mm-hmm. So we offer different types of we offer coaching. We offer different types of developmental tools, branding themselves as, you yourself as a woman of color. How are you presenting yourself, your elevator speech, just tools in your toolbox to be a more well-rounded professional. In addition to well-roundedness, we're in professional, also for your personal enhancement. How you present yourself in what you wear, how you present yourself to show that you are dressing in a professional way, that type of thing, right? What do you want to reflect when you present yourself? Those types of things. Focusing on your goals for your career and goals for personal improvement as well. And there is no template of how you do that because it's an individual thing. What you want for your career is not the same as what someone else would want for their career. And so it is an environment that's inspiring to everyone. I'm an example of that as well, as I would say, close to closing out my career in a sense. I'll be retiring in the next, who knows, maybe 10 years. But I decided to go back to school and get my MBA. So I just finished and I have my MBA. I finished in March. And it was being around women that inspired me and helped me understand why not. If that's what you want, go for it. So I did it. Wow. So that's the example. That's the example of what WOCIP does. It's a community of women that all in the same industry. And when we boil it down, we're all girls. So we just, we help each other and be there for each other to discuss what hindrances are going on in their life, in their own minds. Because we women, sometimes we're our worst critics, right? We talk ourselves out of things. So having girlfriends around you to help pump you up and to help be the sounding board is really what WOCIP is all about.
Yeah, that's fascinating that you're a founding member of all of us. So it's like a support group for women of color to join together and guide each other through things, correct?
Correct. So it started when I was at the company that I'm with now, which is Covance. And it has been, we would work together as, of course, Black women at the company. And we met for a while, during when I first started with the company. And we always got together for baby showers, or we got together for, after work, just hanging out and just talking about what they wanted to do in their career. Someone was wanting to get a promotion. Did I know the person in the department? Could you give them a good, put in a good word for me, or blah, 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 right? And we would say to each other then, wow, wouldn't it be great if we could have a network and we could just help all women, we could just all know that we could come to each other and, for guidance. And that was back in 1990, I guess when dinosaurs were walking around, right? Back in
1990.
It was back in about 1994, 1995. That's when I started in 1993 at Covance. And in 1994, 1995 is when this occurred. We called ourselves Pharma Divas. Back then, diva was the hot word of the day. And so that was in 94. So we would meet every now and then at each other's homes. It was a small amount of us at Covance at the time, so it was easy to get together, right? And then 15 years later, some of the women left the company, some of them, were still there, but we still kept in touch, right? And 15 years later, I received a call from one of those women who had had left the company, but we still remained friends. And she asked me simply, Annie, do you remember Pharma Divas? I'm like, yeah. She said, I met a doctor at BMS, that's where she was. And she said, I met a doctor, and I told her about Pharma Divas, and we decided we're going to do it. We're really going to do it. Are you in? And I said, yes, I'm in. So we got together, we put together all of our materials, our mission statement, our vision, the pillars, what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it. We put all of the stuff together, and we are pinching ourselves that 5 years later, we're as successful as we are. So it's been a journey, but it's been great.
Yeah, that you guys seem so successful in what you've been doing. And I believe other than WOSIP, you have also helped with the WEN Women Empowerment Network.
Yes. So being around all of these different women in pharma. I work for Covance, as you know, and that's a clinical research organization, right? So we are there to support all of the big pharma companies, right? The BMSs and the J&J and Merck and just all of the big pharma companies. But as a CRO, we did not, we were there just to support the big pharma, right? But all of these ladies that I was involved with WOSIP, they worked for pharma. And they were always talking about all of the employee resource groups that they worked with. And there were employee resource groups for Indian women. There were employee research groups for Black women. There were all types of different employee resource groups. And Covance did not have one. And I'm like, it bothered me after a while. So after about 3 years, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to start an organization. And in our first meeting, of some volunteers that were talking about it, I said, you know what? And we're going to empower each other. So we're going to call it Women's Empowerment Network. And that's how it started. So it has been very successful as well. It started in 2019. And now when we went to the ERG leadership to start the new ERG, we provided them all of our information, our mission and our vision. And they decided to take all of our materials and present it for the company wide. It wasn't just going to be in Princeton. So now all of our materials is the backbone for the entire Women's Empowerment Network. And in 2 years, we now have 21 locations around Covance in different offices.
21
Yes.
locations.
Yeah, I'm pinching myself on that. The Win Princeton group was the flagship, and it has picked up so much steam. It grew very quickly within 2 years, 21 different locations. And we have a very powerful one with lots of members in India and China and all over, all of the countries as well.
Really, globally.
It's global.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. And it's all from my frustration of we need this in Covance. Why does the pharma companies have to do it? CRO, we're important too, right? So
yeah, I think we can take from that if you have an idea, just go for it.
I would say bottom line, just do it. I mean, just do it. So I guess that's the old Nike slogan. Guess that fits. Just do it.
So along with these two organizations you've helped out with, did you think you would ever go into this career from the start of your life? Did you ever think you would do something like this?
To be honest, I've always, and I'm pretty upfront and honest type of person. I've always been a leader, even from when I was a little girl. I naturally was the one that was going to lead something and do something. I don't know why. So I'm not shocked that I'm leading something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm comfortable in that position of being the one that raises my hand and like, hey, I'll do it. So now to be in two successful movements like this, yes, that part surprises me. Yes, it does.
Yeah, I can relate to. In school, I always try my best to be the one who raises their hand. So I can relate to you on that matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not a little bashful wallflower. Let's say that. I can be bashful, but I'm okay with speaking up and giving my thoughts on things. Not that you have to agree with everything I say, but I'm okay how I was raised. I'm the youngest of 8 children, and my parents always wanted to hear our thoughts, right? Not that it would be considered that I was going to let me hang on. The other. Okay, so it was that I was not going to be to get everything that I thought was right, but my parents did allow me to express my ideas, right? And they would either say yes or no, but I was never ever told that my thoughts were not going to be heard. So I was comfortable of always being able to speak my mind on things.
Yeah. So you were raised, that's how you were raised with that mindset, but you were also raised in Georgia, correct?
Correct. You've
So
done.
I've heard that Georgia wasn't exactly the most liberal state. How did you deal with racism?
So I'll be as delicate as possible, but as honest as possible. I did grow up in a very, 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 very racist setting. It still is. It's a small town in Georgia, population 4,000. So it's very small, right? So how I dealt with uh, not being given the benefit of the doubt on things is I ignored it and still just for what it is that I wanted or thought. And I think a little bit of that um, self-confidence that I have an abundant amount of um, helped me just get it done. I didn't allow other people's stupidity affect me.
Yeah, it's always important that when you're in difficult situations, confidence is always key.
And it wasn't confidence in the way that I was militant about it. It was a confidence in a way that was, it is what it is, and I'm okay with it. I mean, if you have the problem with it, then you go and self-soothe and deal with it because I'm okay, right? So it's something that you had to deal with being in Georgia. Some of the reason why I'm probably not going to go back to live there. I still have family there, and I still go. I'm actually going in August, but I have. There were lots and lots and lots of experiences I went through as a teenager, and that I went through as an adult. Believe it or not. Just real quick, in college, I'll give you a quick example. In college, I love poetry. I love reading. I love literature, that type of thing, right? And I started my college there in Georgia, and the professor one day, we had an assignment to read some short story, and I was participating in class and answering all of the questions, right? And he just was in awe that I was able to grasp the information. And I didn't even, it went over my head that he was being a little bit, there were microaggressions that were going on. And he asked me again, he said, Annie, wow, you seem to have a really good grasp of the information. And that pumped me up. I'm like, well, yeah. And then I started talking about it again, right? And then he was like, wow. Well, I mean, like he was, and then it hit me. So I
just asked him a question. I'm like, so why does that surprise you? Don't you expect that from everyone in the class? And he got a little flush, poor little thing. But so it's that type of attitude. I didn't get angry, and you know what I mean. But you do have to learn how to handle it. Still keep your cool, and still have your integrity, but still move forward, right?
Yes.
So that's. I mean, you still have to do such in corporate America right now as well.
Yeah, and there's obviously still a ton of racism in America.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Black Lives Matter, the whole movement, we're trying to go forward.
Yes.
So you're a woman and a person of color. So it's obvious that you were doubted or underestimated. Is there like anyone you thought you were surprised who underestimated you?
Oh, that's a good question. So of always being underestimated from even when I was little, I would not say that I was surprised. I would not say that I'm not surprised right now because I'm still underestimated in corporate America, in Covance, I'll say, right now. There are assumptions that are always made. Just to be transparent, it occurred within the last couple of months. That a couple of my colleagues were just floored that I've had so many accomplishments over the 28 years that I've been with Covance. And I did so without having a mentor.
Mm.
They were just shocked. Like, wow, really? So you did all of this without having a mentor? I'm like, yeah, I did. So they were shocked. I wasn't. I mean, so you just don't embrace that type of negativity. And you know what? I really don't think that it was said in a way to actually be negative on purpose. You know what I mean? I think it's an example of microaggressions that they don't actually realize. I mean, you are a product of your environment. You're a product of your environment, as they are, right? So there are assumptions that are made, and there are things and thoughts that are undercurrents that you don't even realize that you have. So I probably have my own set, that I don't realize as well. So it's not that I see that all experiences in corporate America are negative, but there are some where there are assumptions that are made that are inaccurate and a little bit unfair. So you recognize that, you face it head on, and you sidestep it so it doesn't mess up your progress and moving forward. Don't let it take over and mess up your positivity.
Yes, that is great advice. And the corporate America, it's growing and growing and growing with years to come. But as you said, there are still underestimations and doubts of people and women of color. So how does the WCIP deal with the racism at work? How do you take action?
Yeah, so how we take action is, as a matter of fact, what WOSIP did last year, I'll say it differently. For us, we feel that our members need to empower themselves. It is not those assumptions that are being made about you, they are not going to go away overnight. You have to make sure that you can handle your reality of of how you're living your life, of how you are moving forward. Having a sense of being a victim, it's not going to get you anywhere. It really isn't. Are we victims? Yes, we are. Embrace that. Know that it's there, but you cannot allow it to slow you down, right? So I think it is unfortunate that the George Floyd incident occurred. But the positive aspect of it is that it did occur, and for some reason, it actually resonated with people. Where most Black people are concerned, that was not a surprise for us. It's happened for as long as I've been on this earth, right? We see that all the time.
Yeah.
And when I say see, I'm meaning it has occurred over and over and over and over again. The difference here was that it was actually on camera, and also people were open to the reality, because we've seen other on camera incidents as well. Many, I can name a lot of them. But back to your question, how do you handle it as someone in corporate America? I think now, with the understanding that Black lives do matter, it's not that Black lives are better, just hopefully people are realizing that they do matter as well, right? And there seems to be more of discussions now around that. So for me, it's making sure that we have allyship. So when people come to me and ask me about it, I make sure that they understand that no one wants to be treated special. I just want to be treated fairly with the same assumptions that I can be successful. That's all.
Yeah.
That's it. I
Especially,
don't want anything extra, nothing extra. I want to earn it, but I also want to be given the benefit of the doubt, right? And you don't always have that when there are assumptions being made about you. So I do think that right now, how your attitude yourself as a Black woman makes a difference, because you can hinder yourself by someone else's negativity. And I've
yeah.
never chosen to take that on, ever.
So this whole Black Lives Matter, it's been pushing forward.
Mhm.
But let's also talk about the misogyny you face at work too.
Hmm. Of course, there are assumptions about the male-female differences, and it's definitely there. I have had, so when you're not a wallflower, and when you don't easily accept being quote unquote manhandled, what you get instead is assumptions that you're overly aggressive, that you intimidate people. And when they're saying people, they're meaning men. So sometimes men can't handle your own strength, can't handle your strength. I've had a man to come to me and say, and he was a good friend, a great colleague. I walked down the hall towards him, and he said, "Oh, here comes trouble." Yeah. And the first time he said it, I laughed it off, and I'm like, "Oh, you're silly, silly guy," right? He did it again, and I pulled him aside and I said, "So, is it trouble because I don't necessarily disagree with everything that you say and that I'll challenge you? Does that feel like trouble to you? Why?" Right? And I said, when you say here comes trouble, that means that you know that I may challenge you. So that's troubling you. Why? So you get that. And again, you cannot help that they are in this society as well. And they are a product of the society as well, right? So if I don't allow myself to get that angry, or it will not help me propel myself forward. So
Yeah.
it is, there will always be assumptions. Oh, there will be assumptions that you're the one that's going to take the notes. There will be assumptions that you as a woman will be the one to order the coffee, or that, or organize the birthday gathering, or yeah, no. And they cannot help it because it is the culture that we live in. It is. So they will get better as we get better of not accepting being treated certain ways, right? And it doesn't have to be in a militant way of pushing back. You just need to push back. That's all.
Yeah, it's society and it's hard to deal with, but with people like you, amazing people of color, women, you're pushing forward and you're helping everyone, especially with the WN, the WCIP. So with all these accomplishments, you've had many accomplishments, but what is one time you felt the most accomplished?
Getting my MBA.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily to propel my career. It's something that I wanted for me. right? I'm already a director, so it's not that I needed my MBA at all. It's just something I wanted to fulfill for myself. The other things that I've accomplished where leading is concerned, it's not that big for me. I think mainly because I've always just led things. So it's like it feels natural to me. I've never been bashful, and I'm comfortable speaking in front of people. I'm comfortable with leading things. So the leading things is not the big accomplishment for me because it does not take me out of my normal space. You understand what I'm saying? It would be an accomplishment for me if I had to not be a leader and sit back and not say anything and be bashful. If I actually did that, that would be out of my comfort zone, right? So the leading part is in my comfort zone. So I don't see it as being big. So I get a little surprised when people think that I've been so successful. I'm like, really? I just started the WIN network. What's the big deal, right?
Yeah, I see a lot of myself in you actually, because I'm always trying to speak up about different topics, but I'm always shut down for some reason. And it often takes a lot of courage to come back up. So if someone were to enter a similar career as you, what advice would you give them?
I think honestly, I think it is mainly working on you and not allowing others to deter how you feel about things. I say this I have two sons. I've always said this to my sons. It is okay for people to have a different opinion. It's okay. And you don't have to, I don't need people to agree with me. It's how I feel about it. I'm not asking for their agreement at all. Um, so I think it's really working on you and how you handle people that don't think the same way that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people allow it to affect them in a negative way, and it stops them in their tracks from doing what it is that they want, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, I had plenty of friends and colleagues like, Annie, why are you going back to school to get your MBA? I mean, why are you doing? You're already a director. Well, it wasn't their decision to make. It was mine. It's my own personal decision, my own personal life, my own personal goals, right? So each individual, so as a woman, I would say it's your personal goals that are important. You're not trying to align them to anyone else's. They're yours. So you treat them and nourish them and as you want for your life. That would be my advice to other women, and not be threatened by the social stigma of it. Sometimes people feel that you are not conforming to society because you didn't necessarily listen to what the crowd wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
So having your own individual thoughts and your own individual goals and is extremely important, and not to give those up.
Yeah, that is something I really needed to hear, especially we're in this modern society. We need to keep on pushing forward, and we need to keep on having more women, more people of color to stand up and speak about their issues. So thank you for being one of those people. I can tell you, I really appreciate it. Tons of other women, people of color really appreciate it. You are one of the people helping society go forward, move forward, advance. So once again, I would like to say thank you for coming to this interview. I am really inspired by you. And is there anything else you would like to say?
No, I would say you did a fantastic job. You got a lot of great information from out of me. It was great. You did great research, which is cool. For you to know that I came from Georgia, that's amazing. Yeah, so it is. I would just say I am very honored for you to have chosen me to interview. And if any of the words that I've given today can help inspire other girls, it's great. I mean, I'm a girl in my head that's probably half my age in my head anyway. And you never, ever, ever stop learning. and you never ever stop wanting to improve yourself at any age. So just keep that in mind. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Cool.
right. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
All
Take
right.
care.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.